Hey, what's good, you guys? Peek out here in Singapore. It is a beautiful, rainy Friday morning, and I had a really great night last night. I hung out and got a lot done. Okay, let me preface this by saying that lately, right, I've been going to sleep at like 3, 4 in the morning, waking up at 6:30, dropping baby girl off at school, come home, try and like power through the morning, and then once I pick her up from school at about 2, get back home, I eat my lunch, somehow or another find myself comfortable on the couch, and then murder she wrote. I tend to take a nap, so it's not a bad thing. I'm discovering that as a projector I need naps or breaks throughout the day. I need my sleep, and I'm really have not been good about making sure that I get sleep, but this is okay, this is understandable. So yesterday I tried to make sure not to take a nap because I feel like by the time I get up, it's not okay, it's not a long nap, but I've missed some time with her. You know what I mean? The whole point of me being here, working from home, making sure that I pick her up from school and everything is to make sure that I can be around and do things with her. So yesterday, we did. I actually got on Instagram Live on her account and made sure that we broadcast the fact that we were making some things yesterday. We made 3 things. I made caramel pudding, which is actually Puerto Rican flan. I love making flan. It's one of my mom's favorite dishes, and it's always so rich and creamy. And then that, the caramel sauce that comes up from the bottom, perfect, right? Perfection. Anyway, super sugary, but hey, we got a sweet tooth. Um, we did the flan, and then baby girl has been bugging me for cookies. So yesterday when we made the cookies, I wanted to make sure that we wrote down when we made the cookies because I make a big batch, right? And I keep it in the freezer. And then whenever we're ready for cookies, I kind of scoop out what we need. I usually bake about 8 cookies at a time, 4 for her, 4 for me, finish it up, and that's enough of a sweet treat for the day. So we made cookies, the chocolate chip cookies, my favorite, the way we love them. But she also challenged me yesterday to see if I can get a recipe that might match or rival that of Famous Amos. So we'll see about that. I don't know, but we'll see. What else? And then we actually pulled out a very old contraption. It's kind of a wooden stool with a prong on the front. It has lots of little hooks on the grate basically so that you can grate a coconut. It's something that my grandfather used to use and it's actually his that we're using at the moment. So it's a hand-me-down. I love it. And fresh coconut, great fresh coconut. So that was really cool. I enjoyed that. But we got to film all of that just to show people that, hey, you know what? There's so many things you could do in the day. And I'm not just showing you all the nice, glamorous, edited stuff. It's the simple stuff that we while away the time with. So I loved it. That was different for me because I don't tend to go live doing things that often. I try to plan everything as much as possible. So when I do get on and do a live IGTV, well, it's not live, IGTV video, I like to make sure that I know what I'm talking about and the message kind of gets across. But that brings me to last night. So we've been watching Once Upon a Time. We were watching, oh gosh, something in the movies that kept referencing 80s. Something in the series that kept referencing 80s movies, and I was like, you know what? We should do an 80s movie challenge because I'm pretty sure my daughter has not seen most of them. I've tried, okay? I'm being very honest. I've tried. She's seen stuff like The Goonies. She's seen, let's see, Back to the Future 1. She hasn't seen the other two. She's seen all of Star Wars because we were Star Wars fanatics. She hasn't seen the Indiana Jones series yet, but then the older classics, the ones that are like, The Breakfast Club, Pretty in Pink, 16 Candles, Top Gun, Beetlejuice, Drop Dead Fred, like all that old stuff, right? But we want the classic coming of age movies, and I think that's really, really important because it can't always be all action, action, action. Sometimes you really need to listen to the dialogue to get into the character's head and understand what's really going on. So I really appreciate that these movies, I think they're John Hughes movies, right? They're a little bit slower. It's a lot more dialogue, and we decided to watch The Breakfast Club. Lo and behold, I find out that my mother has never seen this movie. So I was like, oh no, we're rectifying that right now. So we sat down and watched, and yeah, she was a little distracted in the beginning because it took a little while to get started. There was no action. I mean, honestly, it was within the compounds of the school. There was no big drama. There was no, oh my gosh, big conflict. It was an existential crisis, basically. But I loved it because it helped them air out their problems, and once they aired it out, they realized that all of them were going through the same issue. So without giving too much away, because there really isn't much of a plot line, but the point being that, these 5 people found themselves in detention on a Saturday where they had to be in school the whole day Saturday. And of course, the teacher that was there is kind of an ass. Um, so he addresses all of them in the morning when they get there at 7 something in the morning. And he tells them, look, you know what you did wrong. You know what you got to do to fix it. And here's your punishment for today. You need to write a 1,000-word essay about who you are. So then they don't, obviously they're kids, they don't do it to the very end of the movie, but they get to know each other. There is one young man who is a disruptor, and he likes to pick on people and make them uncomfortable and make them face things that they don't want to face, mostly because if the attention's on them, it's not on him. And that's how he kind of manages the whole movie. But it's necessary for them, because it's almost like no one asks these questions. No one pays attention enough to ask these questions. Like, why do you dress like this? Why do you act like this? Who are you really? Is this who you always are? And the funny thing is, he started with the parents. Do you like your parents? How cushy is your life at home? Because he knows his life sucked, basically. But I love the fact that all of them are misfits in their own way. All of them are upset about something in their own way. And it reminds me that mental health, crucial. Mental health is just as important as physical health, as gut health. Gut health is big now these days as well, right? A balanced home and work life, all that stuff matters. And that's where your mental health, you need mental fitness. You need to be able to take care of your emotions, take care of your thoughts, make sure that you choose as much as you can so that you are in control of your life and not just kind of taken away by the undercurrent or the undertow, or whatever you want to call it. So he started off with how you like your parents, if you like your parents or not. And obviously these are all teenagers. What teenager loves their parents at that age? You're already trying to fight to be yourself and fight to live by your own rules while you live under the rule of your parents. And obviously there's going to be some kind of a clash no matter what you do. I'm not going to lie. I had a hell of a time when I was growing up, and there were moments where I really didn't think there was any point other than to end my life, because I could not find peace anywhere. And eventually it was, I was lucky enough to have family members notice, and then I went to live with an aunt or a grandmother for a time. We'd rotate, basically. And it wasn't to punish my mother, but it was to keep us from fighting each other so badly and to end up saying things that we could not take back, that we could not recover from. So I was lucky enough to have someone step in at that point. But bottom line being that, yes, you go through difficulties. You could be from a rich and wealthy family, could have anything that you could ask for, but find that, maybe the people around you, or your family, don't pay as much attention because they're so worried about the money. Or maybe you're caught in between, two parents who are fighting each other, and because they're fighting each other, they use you as the pawn to hurt the other person, which means you don't actually get love and affection the way you need it. You get attention in order to drive attention away from the other spouse. So there's difficulty there, right? You're being moved around like a chess piece. You're not actually a person. You're more like an item that can be bargained with. There are people where whether you come from a rich background or poor background, people sometimes find that they're in situations where one person of authority in the house is abusive. Maybe they're hurting so badly that they don't know better than to lash out. But the point being that every one of these people from all these socioeconomic backgrounds, from different cultures, happen to be at the same school and happen to have different pain, trauma that they're dealing with. And it wasn't until this one person kind of disrupted the whole day and forced them to talk about it. It was like a truth or dare moment a couple of times in that movie, that they actually opened up and talked to each other. And they found that once they spoke to each other, they really bonded. They liked the other person. They respected the other person's struggle. And suddenly there was no you versus me. It was more like us versus them. But there was also a really valid point that was brought up at the end of the movie. There was a young man, the youngest one in the group, decided, he said, you know what? All right, this is Saturday. We're bonding, we're cool, we're hanging out, obviously we have no choice, but we're actually enjoying each other's company. What happens Monday when we get back to school? Do we go back to pretending like we've never met each other? Do we go back to pretending like, we don't know these things about the other person? Are you going to promise that you're not going to use what you know against me because you want to, protect your reputation or what have you on Monday morning? And that's also a valid question. What I want you to take away from this humongous spoiler alert is the fact that you have a choice in everything that you do. You do. You actually have a choice. You have a choice whether you show up or not. You have a choice whether you participate or not. You have a choice whether you engage when you've been invited to battle or not. But your choices come down to whether you trust the other person or not as well. And trust is also a choice. Maybe you don't know them, so you don't trust them. So how do you fix that? Get to know them. No one can tell if the other person has good intentions or bad unless you give them a go. You try. Now, sometimes you do get very, very strong feelings about people. Definitely listen to that inner guidance, but for the most part, we don't know the first thing about the other person, and that's where compassion comes from. I think I've talked about this in a different podcast episode, but if I'm judging you, if I'm busy like thinking about, oh my gosh, how could they possibly do all of these things, I'm judging you. I'm deciding whether you're good or bad based on what I see, like the small, minute section of your life that I see. If I'm doing that, I don't have time to understand you. That's not my intention at that time. I can't have two intentions at the same time. I can't love you and hate you at the same time. I can't. Now I can go from love to hate and back again in a roller coaster within like a couple of minutes, but I can't do both at the same time. The best thing we can do is understand each other. I have no idea what you're going through. You have no idea what I'm going through. And I have to trust that you're going to tell me the truth because you trust me or don't. I can only work with what you tell me, but we're all more alike than you think. People would rather have us all designated a certain way so that we stick to our factions or cliques, whatever you want to call it. But we have so much in common. So much in common. I hurt just like you hurt. I feel anger just like you feel anger. Now, why may differ, but the emotions are still the same. I feel love just like you feel love. I feel excited just like you feel excited. Why may be different, but the emotions are still the same. I feel, and so do you. And the bottom line is, I would rather us get to know each other and understand our similarities and stand together based on our similarities than have us all divided in 1,000 different ways in 1,000 different, groups. Because divided, we can't overcome anything. I hope that makes sense, you guys. I love you, and I hope that you will subscribe to my YouTube channel or follow along on Spotify or send me messages. If this helped you, let me know. I want to do more of what helps you guys, and sometimes I need your feedback to know which direction to go. Until then, I kind of go where I want to go. I love you, and I'll talk to you again soon. Bye.